Okay, we're going to be starting. Silence your cell phones. Plenty of seats up front if you're looking for a seat. Okay, my name is Shelley Goldberg, and I'm the current president of the Computer Club. And today we're going to be doing our normal agenda, which is going over some Computer Club matters such as the financial report, membership, Computer Club matters. We'll talk about some of the free classes that the Computer Club offers you, some of the things that are going on in the community, and then we'll go on to our feature presentation, which is today is going to be on how to improve your smartphone photography. So everything you want to know about how to take pictures with your phone. And then at the end, we're doing things a little bit differently. We started this last month. Rather than opening up the lab after the meeting, we will not be opening the lab after the meeting. We're going to stay here. We're good in this room until 12 noon. So if you've got any quick questions or things you want to get answered about your phone, about your computer, or anything in general, feel free to come up and we'll try to answer those questions. This is not for setting up a new computer. This is just for quick questions. And if you don't have any quick questions, we'll kind of have like a little computer cafe, so you can grab an extra cup of coffee, sit down at one of the round tables, and if you want to have a little discussion amongst yourselves about what we've been talking about, or about AI, or anything technology oriented, feel free to do that, so you don't have to run out. The other thing we will be doing is after the presentation and the questions, we will actually be showing a photo show on photos that have been taken by computer photo group members in Sun City with their smartphones. So you'll see some examples of smartphone photography. The latest cell phone for seniors.
I want one. Are you selling them?
And for those of you who didn't catch the thing at the top where it says new from LG, LG is the company that no longer makes cell phones.
I want one.
Okay, looking at our financial report, it hasn't changed too much from last month. What you will notice is that we have now purchased or opened up a CD account, which we petitioned to the Sun City Board. It was approved, and charter clubs can now purchase or put money into CDs and gain a higher rate of interest. So we have a large reserve fund that's used for upgrading the new iMacs and PCs in the lab. And we will be purchasing new computers at the end of the year when Windows 12 comes out. At the bottom, you'll notice the Grafton Food Pantry. We donated over $1,000 in 2023 to Grafton Food Pantry. So far, we're up to 640 this year. So please consider dropping a donation into the jar when you grab a donut and coffee.
Still asking the rate.
And membership. Our membership, and we are the largest club in Sun City. We're currently at 1661. This is the month when we start doing dues. And in fact, I'm going to bring up Dave Rubio mention something about paying your dues.
There's all sorts of ways for you. Oh, wow, am I loud? Well, that's what my wife says too,
Among other things.
among other things. Yeah. There's a station outside the doors if you would like to check and see if your dues are due. And this is the renewal period, May 1 through June 30th of this year. If that isn't an alternative, there are two other alternatives. Come in sometime when the club is open, which is Monday and Thursday, or put a check with your ID, your CAM ID number on the back, and drop it in the black box outside the club room at Meadowview Lodge. So those are your three options: outside, inside the club, or in the black box. Thank you very much for your attention.
That's good for 3 years.
Thank you, Dave.
Oh, yeah. The membership is, if you are currently active, it's $15 and you get 3 years. We've simplified our structure.
So it's a pretty nominal fee. We're talking, when you first start out, it's $25. That comes out to, for 3 years, so that comes out to just over $8 a year. And if you're a couple, you're talking just over $4 a year. And after that, it's only $15 for 3 years, so that's $5 for a year. And if you're a couple, you're talking $2.50. You can't beat it. You get free classes, you got instant help at the lab, and all the digitizing you want to do. You don't have to buy your own equipment.
Valley,
Yeah.
it's $15 if you pay before July 1st.
Yes. So don't let it slip. Yeah. Right. You want to pay your dues during the months of May or June. If you wait too long and your dues have expired, then you got to start the process all over again with the $25. So try to get your dues in before the end of June. Biggest bargain in town. Okay, just a help wanted. We're looking for more people to help out with the computer club. We need more lab techs in the lab. We're currently open on Mondays and Thursday mornings. We'd like to be open more days, so if we can get more people to help out, then we might be able to do that. So any and all skills are needed. You don't have to have experience. You can learn as you go along. There's plenty of people around to show you how to do things. And so if you would like to do that, that's one of the things we're looking for. We also would like to get some more board members. Some of us have been in our positions for many years. So if you want to be more involved in the community and help and volunteer in the computer club, we've got plenty of planning committees that you can get on. Just talk to any of us. And we're also looking, we have free classes for everyone. And if we can get some more people to help out with teaching some classes. So if you've got some skills that you'd like to teach a class on, we'd welcome you. And of course, we're also always looking for people to help out with making the coffee as well. Okay, we have two subgroups currently in the computer club. The first one is our Apple users group, and the Apple users group meets on the first Tuesday of each month in the lab at 9 a.m. The second one is the photography group, and the photography group meets on the first Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock in the evening in the lab. As we mentioned, our lab is open on Mondays and Thursdays from 9 to 12. And it will be closed whenever we have a meeting here, but we are extending our hours here till 12 noon, so you don't have to run off as soon as we're done with the presentation and questions. Okay, we do have a schedule of free classes. All of our classes are done in the lab and they're all free. We occasionally also have some virtual classes that we do over Zoom. So here is a list of our current classes. You can take a look at that. We've got some phone classes on Apple, iPhone, and Android phone. And let me bring up Ralph Weeds, who's our instruction director, and he will give you a little talk about that.
Thanks, Shelley. I asked Shelley if I could have a couple of minutes talk about classes. Fairly often somebody will say, well, why don't we have a class on this? But how come you don't have more classes on that? Well, I thought I'd tell you the reason why. You know, 6 or 7 years ago when I took over this education director, we had 17 instructors. Think about it, 17 instructors. We had quite a few classes. Today, we have 7. So it's really difficult to get a large range of classes when you only got 7 people that can put them on. And if they're like me, I only know 1 or 2, so it makes it very difficult to do a lot. So really, we need some more help. If we're going to be expanding on our free classes, we need more people that can help us. And you can do it by Zoom if you want to. If you don't want to stand up in front of people and talk, we'll do it by Zoom. So we got a Zoom license. It go 2 or 3 hours, or take the freedom for 40 minutes. But they work really well. And you know the nice thing about a Zoom class, we record those. We've got, how many have we got now, Shelley? Maybe 5 or 6 or 7 that's recorded? Yeah. So it makes it very simple. We normally have not recorded any classes in the lab because it's a lot of work to set it up and get it done. But every Zoom class that we do have is recorded. So think about that. I'm going to be here until noon after today. If you I want to talk about it, you know, you may ask and not be interested. You may ask and say, well, I can do that because it's not that hard. Believe me, I put on a couple of classes. It's not that hard. Nobody learned anything, but it's not hard to do. So I just want to tell you, I am working on a couple of things. We're working on another cutting the cord class. That seems to be really popular. I talked to Shelley this morning, and he's going to try to work that out. He's been the only one that has done that particular class. We're working on a photo class. There's a lot of new things coming with how to do things with your, not only your phone, with your cameras. And we're working on a class on maybe altering your pictures, making them brighter, doing various things with it. Frank is talking about that. Maybe YouTube streaming. We had a couple of classes on that. We might have that. And this one, I know for sure, we're going to have an eBay class on May the 29th. It will be by Zoom. And I know on that one, I've been talking about doing it for a while. But we will actually be bidding on some items, and we'll actually be listing some items. So if you're not a member of eBay, and you think, well, I'd like to sell some of the some of the good stuff I got in my house, you have an idea of how it's done. You know, there are some things you got to pay attention to. One of the big things, obviously, is shipping, because it's expensive. But that will be the 29th, so just keep watching the sheets that come out from Frank, the emails on Sundays, I believe. And once again, we do need help with classes if we're going to expand them. Thanks, Joe. Yo.
We used to have classes in the evening, but we lost the instructors that we had for those. We still have people that would like to see classes in the evening, but without instructors, we can't do that. So if any of you would like to help us out that way, we also can always use more technicians in the lab to answer questions. How many of you have got a computer you've had for more than 6 months? How many have a phone that they've had for more than 6 months? How many have a tablet that's been more than 6 months? Could we get your names? You're all qualified. Most of the questions we get could be answered by the people that raise their hands. And if you can't answer the question, we've got other technicians that maybe are a little more skilled that could step in and help. And by doing that, you also will learn how to answer the more difficult questions later. So if you would like to try that, come on up afterwards, see me, and let's talk about that. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And if anyone is interested in seeing some of the recorded classes and also all the presentations that you see here in Trendle, these are also all recorded. The Zoom classes are recorded. The in-person classes in the lab are not recorded. But you just need to go to the Sun City website, go to the Charter Clubs and Computer Club, and you will see down the middle of the page, you'll see a link to some of our recent presentations and classes that have been uploaded to YouTube. You all remember phone booths, right?
That's my wife.
Okay, talking about things going on in the community. This evening, there's a Creedence Clearwater Revival concert, and it's going to be right here in Trendle at 7 o'clock tonight. If you're into country music, there's a Garth Brooks tribute concert coming up on May 30th, right here in Trendle. The next Sun City board meeting will be on Wednesday, May 22nd at 9 a.m. And for those of you that aren't aware, those are also presented over YouTube. So there's a link that's put out at the morning, the morning of the day of the meetings. You just go to the Sun City website, click on that link, and you can watch the board meeting, or you can come in person, of course. And for other things going on in the community, just check your lifestyles and be blessed.
Are there tickets available? No.
For some of them, there are some tickets available. The best thing to do is if you don't have a ticket yet, you can check and see if there are tickets available. If not, check on the classifieds, the Sun City Community Classifieds. A lot of times people buy tickets and cannot go, or they have extra tickets and want to sell them. So you can check there. Even if you can't find a ticket there, if you just show up on the day of the concert, there's usually 1 or 2 tickets. There are people that have extra tickets that they want to dispose of, and you may be able to purchase right then and there. So, and as I mentioned before, after the presentation, we will be showing a slideshow, but we are also going to be taking quick questions, helping out anyone who needs some quick help. And you're welcome to sit around any of these round tables and talk about anything that perks your fancy. And with that, we're going to get on to our feature presentation, which is smartphone photography. The first part of it will be presented by Jeff Snipes, who is the past leader of our photo group. And the second part I will do, and also want to acknowledge some assistance from Bill Cusera, who is currently heading our photo group. But because of simultaneous commitments to our meeting here today, he was not able to actually be here, but he did help in putting this presentation together. So with that, I'll introduce Jeff. I'm going to try to use this one. Between the computer and my reading glasses and everything. Okay. So how many of you have one of these? Okay. And if you have one, how many of you have them with you? This is what the smartphone camera has led to, which is an absolute explosion of photographs. Last year alone,
there were 1.6 trillion photos taken worldwide. Thank you for the cloud. If we didn't have the cloud, we probably wouldn't be able to do this. But so what I want to start with is just kind of a look at the trend and what's behind this and what's happening with it, as an introductory piece. We anticipate in 2024 that there will be 1.9 trillion photos taken. Now that number is hard to grasp, so maybe it's easier to put it this way. That means that there will be 3.7 million photos taken every minute of every day for the entire year. The ramp has really come up in the last 2 years. In fact, in the last 2 years, we have taken more photos than were taken in the entire history of photography. About 3.5 million or 350 million photos are updated daily to YouTube. So what you're going to start to see and understand that relationship between connectivity, the internet, social media, and the cell phone, the two coming together. I find this one interesting. The average person takes 20 photos a day, but what we know about that is the average person takes more photos of themselves than they do of family or friends. Thank you for the selfie, huh? Here's the important one. 24%, 94% of all those photos will be taken with the cell phone, smartphone, whatever, mobile phone, smartphone, whatever you choose to call it. I looked at a trend that started about 2011, because that's when the smartphones really started to blossom. We got bigger sensors, we've got more memory on them, we've got better, we've got dual cameras, the connectivity of the phone all increased. And what this has led to is the fact that you want most photos, you've become pretty much your own photojournalist, and what you're doing is you are then photographing not for yourself, but for your social media audience. And you may say, that's not me. Think about it, it probably is you or your kids. My kids live in Michigan, and with what's going on with them and with the new great grandbaby, it's constant back and forth. What we're doing, what they're doing, it kind of bridges the gap. Mobile phone is a compromise between the digital camera and the phone, and I want to take a look at that. What I want to do is we're going to spend just a little bit of time on the technology. I was cautioned by Shelley, be careful of that, but you can't avoid it. I want to take a look at the strengths of the cell phone, the mobile phone, and I want to take a look at the limitations of it. And one of the things we're going to want to talk to is how do you compensate for those limitations? It's not to say that it's not a good camera. It's not to say that there's something better. It's simply understanding the tool. Every tool you've got has its limitations, and you need to understand what those are so that you can deal with them. First strength, portability. Compared to the big old cameras that we always had, it's so easy to take it around. I would be willing to bet that it is now part and parcel of, it's your companion, it's there. When have you left home without it? It's constant, it's become a part of your daily things. Just like putting your car keys in your pocket, you take the camera in your pocket, it's gone with you. Current phones have artificial intelligence. I'm not going to talk too much about the AI, but the AI in it really takes a lot of the work out of the picture for the amateur photographer. In many cameras, if your horizon is crooked, it'll straighten it for you automatically. If the color's not real good, it'll balance the color a little bit. So the advent of artificial intelligence software building into the camera has taken that thing and really improved the image. All you do is point and click, and it really gives you an improved image over what you're getting in the past. It supports multiple images. The sensor in the camera is typically a 4x3. In other words, what we're talking about is if you're shooting in a landscape form, it's 4 units on the horizontal, 3 units on the vertical. If you flip it over, then you only get 3 units on the horizontal and 4 on the vertical. That's the image ratio of the thing. But the smartphone can also handle a 1x1 which is ideal for social media. A lot of the stuff you put on social media, you're going to shoot in 1:1. And then it also can give you a 16:9, which is the widescreen. So if you want something you're going to show on your TV, on a monitor like this, you can switch to that mode. So you've got the ability to easily go between 3 different image modes based on what you want to do with the image you're taking. Cloud backup, piece of cake. No matter where you are, you can send your photos up to the cloud. In fact, some cameras automatically do it for you. Cheaper than a camera with it because it's part of a package. You know, it's just like buying. It's like your insurance. You buy a package deal. This package deal, the camera comes with it, which makes it in essence cheaper than going out and buying a dedicated camera. Instant photo sharing. Of these, the 2 big strengths are the fact that it's become part of you. You learn to use it. The more you have it, the more you learn to use it, just like anything else. The more you use it, the more you learn to use it, and the better you get at it. And then the other major strength is that artificial intelligence component software that improves the image for you. All right, limitations. The first limitation is the photo sensor size. Now, this is small. Think about your cameras you have in the past. This is small. So what you've got to do to have a photo sensor in it is a very small sensor. That becomes a problem in certain situations. The lenses in it, they're fixed. Right? You may have 2 or 3 lenses, but they're fixed. You do not have the ability to do a focal length, a changeable photo length. Think about a camera where you can change the focal length where the lens comes out and goes in where you're actually moving it. You can't do that with the cell phone. And the other thing with it is the aperture is absolutely fixed on how wide the lens is open. There is not an optical zoom. Okay, you don't have it. They may say you have a zoom. We'll talk about that, but you really don't. Sometimes it's difficult to see the screen in certain lighting conditions. It's not ergonomically designed as a camera. It's ergonomically designed for a phone, but we still use it as a camera. The 2 major limitations, and these are the ones I want to talk, this is the technology I want to talk about just a little bit. There's these 2 limitations. And the reason I want to talk about the technology behind it is so that you understand the tool and you understand why it's there, and then we can better get a grasp on how to deal with that. Sensors. If you look at the traditional full-frame camera sensor versus the sensor in the smartphone, the sensor in the full-frame camera is 35 times larger. Now, if we bring that down to a camera that's close to it, the 4/3 camera, it has the same image ratio as a smartphone, but it's still, sensor is 9 times larger. I haven't done anything with the one in between because that's the old compact point shoot, and the smartphone has pretty much wiped it out in terms of the market. So here's the issue. Within the sensor, you have pixels and picture elements. And these are the little units that capture light, right? And the bigger the individual pixels are, the better it captures light. Smaller it doesn't. However, the more of them you have, the better resolution you get. So now you've got a balancing act. How big do I want versus how many do I want? Because as you increase the number that are there, the size is going to decrease. As you increase the size of each one, the number there is going to decrease. So what the camera's maker's challenge is to find that balance where you get the best you can, have the best pixel count and pixel size to create the best image. Remember, the number of pixels simply has to do with the quality of the sharpness or resolution. The size of the pixel really is what determines the quality of the image because it captures the light. What I've got here for you is just a quick example. Here's the 4/3 camera, and here's the sensor, the smartphone camera. And those are proportionally correct, so you can just see the difference in size of the two. And if you look on the left-hand side, you'll see the pixels. Pixels are measured in microns. Microns are a millionth of a meter. But you can get a feel for the amount of light one can capture versus the other. And as those pixels get smaller, they capture less light. As they get bigger, they capture more light. So in dealing with the issue of the sensor in your smartphone camera, you, as the photographer, need to be very sensitive to the light conditions. If you have, fundamentally, we look at 6 different light conditions. I'm not going to talk about flash. If you have any of those 3, front, right, or back, no problem. Camera will do a job, just point, shoot, take the picture, and you're good to go. The challenge comes in when you are in a low light, side light, or a night shot. So here's how the camera compensates or gives you the ability. It won't do it for you automatically. You have to do it, but here's what you have at your hand. Let's just take the night light thing. You have the ability to go to what's called Pro mode or the manual mode and select the night mode application. And what the night mode application is going to do is it's going to assist in taking a picture in low light. Now, you have to be careful about this because what it's going to do is it's going to take what's a timed exposure. It may take it for 3 seconds, it may take it for up to 7 seconds. So if you're going to put it in night mode, then you need to stand very steady. Keep it, it's got good stabilization, you need to stand very steady until it finishes the picture because we're taking multiple images within that span to get a better exposure. So night light works well, you know, it works well, but you understand, a lot of people just simply think they can point and go and wind up with this picture that's a big blur. For the low light and the side light, again, that Pro mode or manual mode gives you the ability to set something called the ISO. Doesn't matter what that's, it's simply, the sensor has sensitivity levels. You can make it more sensitive to light or less sensitive to light. So if you're in a low light situation, you go to the Pro mode and you select the ISO and just run it up. You know, maybe from 100 to 300, 400, 500, you run it up. And as you run it up, the sensor will be more sensitive to the light and you'll be better able to capture a picture in low light. So in respect to those issues, that's how you compensate for it. The optics, the actual lenses. You're going to notice that most cameras today, the new ones have 2 or 3, maybe some 4 lenses. Each lens has its own sensor, each lens has its own set focal length, and each lens has a fixed aperture. Aperture is how wide open the lens is. So on your smartphone, the lens is wide open. If you think about the traditional digital camera, if you're familiar with aperture at all it means is I can tighten down how wide open the lens is. Right? With the smartphone, you can't. It's wide open. And the reason they keep it wide open is because they have an issue of having to capture light. Remember, they have the smaller pixels, so they have to do everything they can to capture more light. This becomes I'm going to try and deal with this kind of issue. Aperture has to do with something called depth of field. How much of the image is sharp and how much of it is blurred. So if you take a look at the one on the left, wide open, you'll notice that the little plant is very sharp, but the background and foreground is blurred. And is this something that you like? Because if you're taking a picture of somebody, you don't want to, you know, let's say you're taking a picture of your grandkid and they're standing in front of a bush or something. You don't want all that bush to distract from the image. You want them to be able to focus on that one thing. So you want that situation. As you tighten down the aperture, then more of the image becomes sharp. And if you tighten it way down, then the whole thing is sharp front to back. So it's a matter of that. So again, that's available through your Pro mode. The lens can't open and close, but they have artificial intelligence software that can simulate that. So in essence, all the camera's doing is when you say, I want it wide open, it simply blurs the background for you. And as you go to the next type of setting, then it does a little less blurring in the background. But again, it's the beauty of the AI software that makes that compensation for you. But you have to go in and choose that. The optical zoom, you don't have it, okay? Typically, if you look at a regular digital camera, the optical zoom lenses are typically something where it's 70 up to 200 or 400 or whatever. And that's because the lens moves, all right? Optical zoom, or the zoom, has to do with what we call field of view, all right? So you need to look at it. When you have the lens close to the sensor, you have a wide field of view. And as you zoom in, what happens is that field of view starts to narrow. And as it narrows, then whatever's there becomes magnified. All right, so it's a field of view. But we can't move the lens. You know what I mean? We can't move the lens in relationship to the sensor on the mobile phone. But if you look at this iPhone 14, it's got a lens that's at 13 millimeters. You can then go to one that's at 26. You can then go to one that's at 77, which Apple calls a telephoto. And in essence, that's true because telephoto typically starts at 70. So you got 7 millimeters of telephoto there. After that, you go into what's called digital crop, whereby to get that field of view changing, what they're doing is instead of being able to tighten this, they're simply selecting a piece of the picture and starting to throw away some of it. I'm going to show you that. That'll be the end of the technical stuff, and we'll move on to things that you can do. So here's my image. Shot this down at Jewel. Great place to get geese on the water. And it may not be real nice, but if you walk in there and make a little noise, they'll fly, and you can get them. And I really like that guy right there. Now, if I do a digital crop or digital zoom on that, I've brought it down to about half. What it's going to do is it's going to throw away that much of the image. Now, the piece that it keeps is as good as quality as the original. The problem is I need to take that smaller piece now and do what? Bring it back to the original size, and that's where the difficulty comes in. I want to show you what the software does just so you understand. So there I've got a little 6x6 image, 6 pixels by 6 pixels, all right? I want to increase that to 11 by 11. So roughly what I had here, I've got about half the image, I want to double it up, all right? So what the camera is going to do, it's going to spread them out. It's going to take those 6 and it's going to spread them out. And so now you've got 85 blank pixels in there. The next thing it's going to do is it's going to take each and every blank pixel, it's going to average its color based on the surrounding pixels and come up with a color for it. The process technically is called interpolation. More commonly is referred to as resampling. And so what we get then is the interpolated or the resampled image. And it's actually very good. Not as good if you had an optical zoom ability, but very good. The key here is how much you zoom. Compared to what the old technology would be, the old technology, all it did was increase the size of the individual 6, and you can see how bad the photo was. So this new technology, well, a lot of things you read about smartphone cameras is one of the things many authors say right off the bat is don't zoom. Well, it's gotten better. I'm not going to say don't zoom. I'm going to simply say watch how much you do it. All right, so there's my image. There's the one I chopped out, the cropped out. The red line shows what I want. And so now I'm going to interpolate. Out of a 16 million pixel image, I cropped out 8 million. And now I just put them back, averaged them, put them back in. And you can see the image is pretty darn good. If I had gone further, Judy Vandermeer, for me a couple of years ago, asked her, she went down to by Fountain View, and she took a picture of that lantern there with her cell phone. And then I asked her to zoom in just on that lantern, and she zoomed way in on it. And so what she wound up doing is probably only taking about 10% of the total image, and you can see the quality or the poor quality of the lantern. Okay. Then I asked her to do a different type of zoom with the camera, and that's what we call zoom by foot, which simply means walk over to it and take that. Let's see. And you can see the difference in the quality of the image. Now you can't always get close, but you have to keep in mind you have 2 zoom resources. You have the digital zoom in your camera, but you also have the ability to zoom by foot. All right, so we got a camera that takes good pictures. And we want to be able to take some very good or great pictures with it. So now we're going to talk about things that you can do that is going to improve that. Point of view. Point of view has to do with both camera position and camera angle. So as we're looking at something to take a picture, you want to look at 3 possible positions. Either a high position, eye level, or a low position. I'm going to show you 3 images taken from 3 different positions, and you can see how it impacts the image. It's not a matter that one's better than the other, but each one's going to give you a different perspective, and you're going, what do you want? So if I shoot that street scene from high, there's what I'm going to see. If I shoot the same scene at eye level, here's what I'm going to see. And if I shoot it at low, here's what I'm going to see. Now, this is a challenge, right? I know for me. Not a problem getting down, but getting back up sometimes is an issue. Believe it or not, your smartphone has taken care of that, because all you have to do is what? Turn it upside down, put the camera down. So it's easier to get lower. And don't worry about the picture being upside down, because by the time you bring the camera back up to look at it, the camera will reorient it for you. All right? So if you want to take a low perspective, and you don't have to get down there, you can simply bring that thing down and turn the camera upside down and do it. All right, camera angle. All right. So back to high school. What are those angles? Acute, right, and obtuse, right? So much for the math of the day. Okay, high angle. High angle simply means I'm shooting down. Eye level, we've seen that before, all right? And low angle. Now, this picture shows something I want to comment to you. Every once in a while, you're going to shoot a picture where you're shooting into the sun, all right? You can do 2 things. You can either move so an structure completely blocks the sun so you don't have that glare. But if you will move your position just enough so that that sun just touches the edge of a structure, tree or building, you get that sun flare effect. So you can choose to either shoot a full sun, move so you don't shoot sun, or touch the building or the tree so you get the flare, whatever you want out of the picture. But you are able to control what's going to happen with that. Viewpoint and perspective. If you're shooting a picture that you want for yourself, something I really would like to have, it's not something I'm just going to stick out there on my Facebook page. It's something I'd like to have, okay? Think about view and perspective. So here we are on the right-hand side. That's the stick. You recognize that? It's a staircase over at the Dole Mansion in Crystal Lake. If you're going to shoot that stairway going up, then go up and shoot it coming down. Get a different perspective. You may like one versus the other. You may like both, but there's no reason not to do it. Why miss it? You're there. Why miss that opportunity to take it from different perspectives? You're walking in a nice path down through the forest. Nice picture. Why not change the perspective and shoot up through the trees? Again, different perspective. You may like them both, you may like one or the other, but if it's something you like and you feel, I want to take a picture of that for me, then shoot it multiple ways. In fact, we always talk about the idea of shooting 360, shooting around something. Composition. How are we doing for time? There's 28 elements of composition. It won't be a quiz. I can't. But from my perspective, I find that there's 6 of them are important, and there's 6 that I can remember. The first one is simplification. Now you notice the background, how it's blurred? Portrait mode of the camera will do that automatically on the cell phone camera. If not, you can change the aperture thing to make it happen. If you're shooting a portrait like that, of a person or an animal, where should the focal point be? It should be on the eyes every time. You always, for people, anytime you're shooting people or animals, always focus on the eye. Rule of thirds, classic rule of thirds. Rule of thirds simply lays out a grid and says, if you have a horizon, put it on one of the horizontal third lines. If you have something vertical building, put it on one of that. If you have an object, put it at one of the intersections. And it's not a hard and fast rule. You notice that that cardinal's not right at that point, but they're there. Now, one tip for you, and the rule of thirds helps with that. If you're going to shoot an animal or a person, anything that can move, give it a place to go. In other words, I do not want that bird sitting out in that right-hand intersection of the grid, because now, oh, where's it got to go? Right off the edge. You want to give it a place to go. I'd rather see where it's going to go rather than what's behind it. You know, and rule of thirds helps you with that, because what you're doing is you're positioning for that. Framing, this is down at the fountain, you know, and a frame could simply be the pine trees. You know, step up under the pine trees and let the pine trees frame the image. It makes a much better image. And what the framing does is it draws the eye to what's inside the frame. Leading lines. This was, so I shot this over at the library, the gazebo at the library. And the little path leads your eye right up to the gazebo. If you see that, that's what you want to shoot. That's what you're looking for. Fill the frame. You know, this is the old tractor over at Malnati's on Redtail. And I really like the tractor and like the engine, and that's what I wanted. So we had moved in to fill the whole frame with what I really wanted to see in the image. I didn't care about the tire or something. There's nothing, you know, Malnati's sign up in the corner. I was just concerned about getting what I want to see. So fill the frame. Last, watch the background. You don't want a background in this situation. If I had shot this crystal clear, crystal sharp, you'd see all the grass behind that juvenile robin, and you wouldn't see the robin. You would see it, but you wouldn't focus on it the way I wanted you to focus on it. So composition. There's your arch enemy right there. A couple of years ago, Budweiser brought the Clydesdales up to Crystal Lake to do a little parade. So I took my camera and I went up, and they were all hooked up and they were standing there. And so I stood on the sidewalk right beside the lead Clydesdale. And I was willing to wait. And I waited, and I waited, and pretty soon, he noticed me. He noticed me more. And after about 10 minutes, I got the shot I wanted. He smiled at me. If I had just shot that group of horses, I wouldn't have had any of those images. It's a matter of waiting and seeing what happens. It doesn't always pay off, but more times than not, it does. You get a different perspective, you get a different view, something changes, and you get a much better picture. So some tips worth remembering. Selective focus. Your camera has automatic focus, but it's not always going to focus where you want the focus point to be. With the smartphone, all you have to do is touch the screen where you want the focus, and it'll put it there. If you want to do something different, you can touch the screen and hold your finger there, and it will lock the focus at that point. Then you can reposition the picture. It still keeps the focus on the large flower, but I've repositioned it now to put more of it in. All depends on just what you want to see. Shutter release, you have single shot or you have continuous. Single image versus multiple image. On my Android phone, Samsung phone, if I touch the shutter button and I drag it down and hold it, it will then continue to fire. I'm not sure how yours work, but most of them have some kind of, you know, continuous or burst mode that you can access. If something's flying, something's moving, you know, it doesn't have to be a bird, it could be a grandkid that's going or whatever. They have panorama modes. And with panorama mode, with smartphone, it's easy because you do the panorama. My only tip here is don't get carried away. If you get too much, then you've got this miserable little image and you can't see anything. So pick out what you want and shoot just that portion. Landscapes, all right? A couple of years ago, we had a video presentation at the camera group by a guy who contract shoots for National Geographic, and he said an interesting thing. He said in his contract with National Geographic, it stipulates that every landscape picture he takes must be taken both in landscape and portrait mode. And the reason for that, you can see there, is you're going to see different things in the different modes. You have the ability to do that. So if you're going to shoot a landscape, shoot it landscape, and then move it to portrait and find a key element and shoot that. Even if you don't keep it, you know, and again, it's a matter of saying one might be better than the other, but if you miss the opportunity to do it, you know, you've lost. Always remember, 360, shoot around. If you can, don't just shoot from different perspectives. Going to give you a whole different view. So where do you keep your smartphone? Probably in your pocket, in your purse. You know, one of the biggest offenders to good pictures is a dirty lens or a lens has got a smudge on it. You can get, up in the upper right is what's called a lens pen. It's a micro lens pen. It's got a little chamois type thing on it. You can clean grease off the lens, so it's got a brush on the other end. Or get yourself a microfiber cloth or one of the lens cleaners that you can use. The other issue here is getting a grip on the camera. Hold it with two hands, or you got to think. I had bought this little Ulanzi cap grip that clamps on the phone and allows me to hold the phone like a camera. You know, it improves the ergonomics, and it's got a shutter release right here. Yeah, $15. So it's not a big investment. It also has a screw hole here, or I can screw it onto a tripod and set it on the tripod. And if I put it on the tripod, I can take the shutter release, pop it out, and then trigger it remotely. So like I said, for 15 bucks, yeah, it's a pretty good tool. So here's your challenge. Go out and reshoot something you shot. You know, I've shot the waterfall down at the Fountain View many times, but I never shot it at sunset. So I went down and shot sunset. I shot the fountain many times, but I never shot it at night. So I went down and shot it at night. The kids' play area, shot it through the porthole rather than just taking a picture of it. Shoot something you haven't shot. You know, I went down to Freeman Avenue, and there was some, I don't know whether they were ragweed or days, whatever, shot the fire hydrant. You know, went over further down Freeman and shot the dead trees in the swamp. I was at Century Dental, came out and I saw these cool utility poles, got a picture of them. Shot an umbrella in the rain. Just go out and do two things. Go back to something you shot that you like and shoot it from a different perspective. Or go out and shoot some things that you've never shot before, just for the heck of doing it and see if you can compose them the way you want. That ends it for me. Shelley's going to pick up on the next piece of it.
Thanks, Jeff. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is backing up your photos. Used to have film cameras, and the backup media there was your negative. So if you lost your photos, you could always go back to your negative, or perhaps you were shooting slides. You could go back to the slide and reprint the photos from that. With digital, you don't have to worry about running out of film, but you still need to worry about having a backup. So if you have, if you're working with a smartphone or digital camera, you might have a fire in your house, you might have a flood in your house, you might have theft. So you want to be able to have some sort of backup media. The objective is to have different types of media, so you're not backing up to the same thing. You want to have it on several different types of media, and one should be off-site. So if something happens at your house, it's somewhere else as well. So looking at a smartphone, what you've got is you've got the SD card, which is the picture on the left, the little cards that are inserted into your phone. That's one media of storage for your photos. The other thing is the USB drive or flash drive, thumb drive that you see on the right-hand side. So that's another media. And of course, you can also have regular external drives. These are always getting bigger and bigger these days, so they're into the terabytes. And then you have the offsite. And these days, offsite is cloud backup. So you have cloud storage for your offsite backup. So looking at some of the different types of cloud backup that you can do for your offsite backup. If you're using an iPhone, then the obvious one to use would be the iCloud. You get 5 gigabytes for free that Apple gives you with iCloud. And if you need more than that, you can purchase a plan that gives you more storage space. If you're using an Android phone, then you may want to use Google Drive. Google gives you 15 gig for free, but you want to be careful with that because that 15 gig also includes other things that Google supplies, such as if you're using Gmail, all your Gmail is included in that 15 gig. So you can easily run out if you have a large email box. If you're using Microsoft 365, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, then you also have something called OneDrive, which is the Microsoft Cloud Storage. You can back up, whether you're using an iPhone or an Android phone, you can back up to OneDrive all of your photos. Here again, you get 5 gigabytes for free, but if you have the Microsoft 365 plan that you're already paying the subscription for, you've got a terabyte to work with. So that's quite a lot of storage. If you talk about what's the average size of a photo, and that will vary. The average size is usually about 5 megabytes. So if you have a gigabyte, you've got about an average of about 200 pictures. If you've got 5 gig, which is what they normally give you for free, you're talking about storage for an average of about 1,000 pictures. And if you have a terabyte, you've got 200,000 pictures. So that's quite a lot. How many here have more than 200,000 pictures that they've taken? Got one, okay. Another option is Amazon Photos. If you're paying for Amazon Prime, how many of you have Amazon Prime that you're using? One of the things that Amazon gives you for free is if you're already paying for it, they do give you unlimited backups of your photos, unlimited cloud storage, and it's full resolution, it's not reduced. So you can take advantage of that. It's very easy to set up any of these. And if you're using Google Photos, for example, in Google Photos, you would just go to Settings. There's a section, you can see that on the screen there on the right-hand side. There's a section called Backup and Sync. And you go to Backup and Sync, and there's a little switch, and you just turn it to on. And now you set your backup to Google. If you're using an iPhone, it's very similar. You go to Settings, you go to the iCloud, you go to Photos, and again, you just turn it on. So if you're running low on cloud storage space, then you either switch to a different method, one of these other ones, or you can pay for additional storage space. With iCloud, you want to be a little bit careful because it's a sync, it's not a backup. So that means that if you delete it on your phone, it's syncing your phone to the iCloud is going to delete it on the iCloud as well. Another one that's, which I don't have on here, is one called pCloud, which gives you 10 gigabytes for free. pCloud is a service that's offered out of Switzerland, and that's another option for file storage backups. Okay, so you've got your pictures onto your smartphone, and you want to get your photos from your iPhone, let's say, to your PC. Well, maybe you're backing it already up to the iCloud, but you want to get it onto your PC. So how do you get it onto the PC? All you need to do is go to open up on your PC the standard photo viewing app, which is Microsoft Photos. And you'll see on there, there's a section called iCloud Photos that they've now included in there. The first time you do this, it's going to prompt you to install the iCloud app for Windows. So you install the iCloud app for Windows, and now you have access to all of your iCloud photos. Okay, if you're working with Google Photos, you're backing up your photos to Google Photos. How do you do it here? Okay, you simply open up the browser, you go to either Chrome or Edge or your favorite browser, and go to Google Photos. And within Google Photos, you can select, you just click on the photos that you're interested in working with. Select those photos. Go in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see 3 dots. 3 dots always means there's a menu there. You get the 3-dot menu, and you select download, and it'll download those pictures for you. If you're working with Amazon Photos, same thing. You go open up a browser, go to Amazon Photos, select the photos you're interested in, and here again, you just select those photos, and you'll see there's a download button there as well. Okay, now you took the picture. Now it's time to perhaps to edit that picture to make it a little bit better than what you are seeing it initially. So you can edit the photos either right on your smartphone as you're taking the picture, or you can wait and do it after you've taken the pictures, and either do it on a tablet or on your phone or on a computer, a Mac or a PC. So you can do things like cropping, adjusting the exposure, adjusting the color. All of these will improve the quality of the photo that you've taken. But the thing you want to be careful with is you don't want to overdo it. You just want to do some minor enhancements as you're taking the picture, so you don't forget about what you were really trying to take a picture of. And a good idea is also to save it all as a separate photo. So you've got the original as well as the edited version. So what are some of the editing apps that you can use? And some of these will work on either iPhones or Android phones. The one you're seeing as a cutout here is some scenes from a product called Snapseed. Snapseed is put out by Google. It's a free product. And it'll allow you to do the cropping to get the best framing. You can correct your exposure, correct your color. There's one put out by Adobe that you can use called Adobe Photoshop Express. This is not the regular Photoshop that you have to, where there's a larger learning curve. This is actually a pretty simple app to use, the Adobe Photoshop Express, and it's totally free. Another one is Adobe Lightroom for mobile, just use called Lightroom. Here's an example of Adobe Photoshop Express, and this is applying filters. So the picture on the left is one I took actually just about a week ago, something you recognize right here in Sun City, and it shows the tulips in the foreground. You can apply different filters to this. So what I'm doing is you'll see the Photoshop Express or any of these apps. They give you literally hundreds of different filters that you can use to change the look of your photo. So in this case, I'm selecting the vibrant filter. You can see how it kind of makes it more intense. And you can adjust the intensity of that. There's a bar at the bottom, and all you have to do is slide that dot across that bar to make it more or less that effect. And here's another example of a different filter. This one is using what they call the Carmine filter, which is bringing out the red from the tulips, so you can see the red across more of a black and white image now, if that's what you're trying to do. So you can do all kinds of tricks here. And this can be either done on the camera or post-processing on your computer or tablet. Okay, you can open up on a PC, you can open up Microsoft Photos. You can do this also with other products as well. But they now have all of these artificial intelligence types of things that you can do. So let's say you wanted to erase a person, or in this case, wanted to erase some of the upper tulips and just show the bottom tulips. All you do is you click on the erase. It gives you a brush stroke. You can adjust the size of the brush that you're using and kind of just brush whatever you want, whatever object you're trying to eliminate. Could be a person. You want to remove. You can wipe out a person, you can wipe out a tree, you can wipe out, in this case, a few of the tulips, and change the image from what you originally saw. Okay, and there are a lot of newer apps that they now have that you can use to do all kinds of different tricks. Some of these are free, some you have to pay for, but there are a lot of free ones that you can kind of play with. With the iPhone, I'd recommend either looking at something called Camera Plus 2 or Pro Camera. It gives you more control. You can adjust your shutter speed, you can adjust your ISO, it used to be the film speed. On an Android phone, you can use a product called BSCO or Open Camera. Open Camera is the picture on the left there, and it's an open source product. It's totally free, and it gives you lots of manual controls. So if you want to get away from the automatic picture taking that your smartphone will normally give you, you can use something like Open Camera, and you'll have all of these manual controls. It's something to play around with if you like that. If you want to get into some of the AI stuff, the photo on the right is Adobe's Photoshop camera, which is also free, and you can see there that allowing you to change the sky, so you can add in a moon or sun or clouds. If you want to add clouds to your picture, so you're adding elements that weren't there before. So you can not only can you erase things, but you can now add things as well. And if you want to enhance your portraits, you can do all kinds of things, play with filters, and it's good to experiment with these and play around. And if you like it, one of these apps, then adopt it. If you don't, try a different one. Some of these are easy to work with. Some require a little bit more practice. The Pro Camera for the iPhone, that one will actually sync up with your Apple Watch. So if you have an Apple Watch, you can use your Apple Watch to trigger the picture, and it gives you like a remote shutter button. So that's kind of a nice feature there. So it's a chance to get into some of the AI effects. Okay, editing apps on your desktop, on a computer, or on a tablet. Here again, you can use Snapseed. The Snapseed is not available on a PC. Actually, it's only available either on a tablet, like an iPad, any Apple device. It'll be available on any Android device. So if you have an Android tablet, you can do it there, or on your smartphone itself. Photoshop Express you can use on a PC, or you can use it on the camera or on a tablet. Apple Photos, Google Photos, Microsoft Photos, and Amazon Photos are also other ones that you can use. So, use these apps to, if you're taking the picture, you need to make a quick adjustment to the exposure or to the color, then you can use these apps to make those quick adjustments. Or you can crop, if you want to get a better framing, you can crop those pictures. So, here's some examples. These are actually Jeff's pictures, but let's say you've taken this picture here, and you want to, it's got a lot of water around that seagull, and you want to make the seagull larger and get in a little bit closer. What you do is crop, and then you have a little bit better picture. And here again, this is one of Jeff's pictures as well. And he showed you the bird there, and there's a lot of distraction from some of the branches. So here you want to just crop out some of those distractions. And there you have a much better picture there. And then on this picture, where you had the distraction from the additional birds up at the top, you can drop in and then you eliminate those birds right there. Or you can use an erase feature and just erase that. And here's another picture of one of Jeff's, where he took a picture of these two owls and pointing out that after he focused beautifully on the owls, you had the window, which is slightly askew, and so you want to straighten out the tree, the windows, and the siding. And so one of the things you can also do with these editing apps is you can straighten out your image with that. And that gives you a much better final picture. And on this bird, it's a little bit dark. You can brighten up an image by changing the exposure on there as well. And a lot of these apps actually give you an automatic button too, and you can try that, and it'll give you an automatic fix on your picture, but you can also adjust it manually to increase or decrease the amount of what you're fixing. Okay, yeah, Jeff talked about a camera grip, and he showed me that about a week or so ago, and got real excited about it. And so I figured, okay, I'm going to go out and get one of those. And I found that they actually have a new version of it now. And yeah, here's the new version, which actually takes advantage of that iPhones now have something they developed in the last couple of years called MagSafe, which was introduced for doing charging on the phone, but it also introduces a magnet to your phone. And so these have a very powerful MagSafe magnet on them. And even if you don't have an iPhone, so for example, I have an Android phone, it does come with a stick-on magnet that will adhere to the case. You can also buy cases that have the MagSafe magnets already built into them. And then you can do that. And so if you do this, you now have, just like you had before, and you also have the capability of having the prongs as well. So you can open this up. And if you need additional safety, so if you're over at the Grand Canyon or Niagara Falls, you want to make sure your phone doesn't fall in, you can not only attach it with the magnet, but you've got the spring-loaded clips as well. And also they have a light that attaches with a magnet to it, and the light will allow you to do a fill light, or you can pull it up and it'll let you use a selfie, so you can get a selfie light to light up your face. And then they also have the same screw mount for a tripod, and they have a Bluetooth shutter, so you can pull off the shutter button. And if you have it mounted on a tripod, you can even walk away and trigger the shutter button right from there. So this kind of turns it into, people think you have a real professional camera, you're not just using a smartphone. So they've got a lot of advances these days. And if you're interested in this particular one, they're doing a special on it right now. Normally that the camera grip by itself is $20. The light is $25, and they're doing a bundle price on Amazon right now, which is where I picked this up from. And the bundle price is $25.95 for both, so it's quite a good deal. I'm not sure how long they'll have the bundle price. Okay, what else can you do? All right, you want to, don't just take all those pictures, you want to use those pictures. So the first thing you want to do is try to print some of your better shots, put them up on the wall, hand them out to friends, relatives. You can either print it yourself using an inkjet printer is a good way to do it, or you can use a service like Shutterfly, or just take it to Walgreens or CVS or Costco. And you want to create your own photo albums. You can share those pictures with others. You can use apps like Apple Photos or Google Photos or Amazon Photos, and which will allow you to do sharing of those photos. The other thing you may want to do is just create your own slideshow and cast the slideshow to your TV, so you can watch the slides of your photos right on your TV set. So that's pretty much it. I have. So we'll open it up to questions, and Jeff and I will take your questions now. And like I say, after we're done with the questions, we're going to run a slideshow of photos that were taken with smartphones. So don't go away. There's more to come.
Shelley, you talked a little bit about backup. In our lab, we have a very large hard drive, and all of the 16 different desks out there with computers on them have connection to that hard drive. So if you come in and do a digital video of a movie, or you do a bunch of slides, you can put those on the members area. On the top of the screen on each of the 16 computers, there's an icon that's called memory area. You click on it.
Yeah, members area.
Yeah. If you click on that, you could just name a folder and put your stuff in there. So if on your way home you happen to degrade your slides, you've got a copy of them that you just spent probably 2 hours digitizing.
Yeah, and the other thing you can do is you can also bring in a flash drive, thumb drive, or a small external drive if you want, and you can also back it up to those, and we can help you with that if you're not sure how to do it.
I have a question. If you have a bunch of photos that you want to email to someone, and you have to reduce the size to get them all, is it better to reduce the file size or else to compress? Because you can do either or both, I noticed in one of these apps. And I'm just wondering.
Yeah, you can use some of the apps like Microsoft Photos or any of these other ones that let you reduce the size of those. So yeah.
Yeah, but the techniques are different. One is a compression, one is a file size reduction, right? There's two different ways of doing it.
You don't need to do either, though.
I don't like to do either one of those. I want to keep those. I use OneDrive, and what I do is I put the photos in OneDrive, and then I put them in a folder, and now I can share that folder by sending anybody I want to a link to it. And when I share that folder, there's a switch where I can say where they can edit it, where they can or cannot edit it. So I turn it off so they can't edit the photo that's out on OneDrive, but they can download it and view it, And all I do is send them the link in the email, and then they've got access to all the photos in that folder, and they're all full resolution.
Jeff, I've got a quick question, and that is, how long does it take for you to set up your cell phone to appropriately do a lot of these things that you showed today?
It's not so much of a setup, Dave, it's just a matter of, a lot of it is composition. So it's positioning, where you're gonna take the shot from. The things where you do some setup is if I'm doing a night thing, I'm gonna go to the night mode. Or if I have a low light thing, I'll go over to and change the ISO so I get a little better light on it. So, and then that takes a matter of seconds to do. The issue is, if you don't know it's there, you can't do it. And even if you do know it's there, you need to figure out how do I get there. And it's one of those things where, you know, what I'll do is I'll sit in my living room, I'm working on the cell phone, and just simply practice. We got a little fireplace there, I shoot pictures of it, and I try the different things, like you know, you put it in night mode, change the ISO, change the aperture, blur stuff and things. It's all a matter of practice. You know, the more you practice with it, the better you're going to get. But it's one of those things where you have to do it. It's not, once you know how to do it, it's seconds.
There was a lot of information shared today, and the nice thing about this is we record it, and now you can watch it on YouTube. Again, to learn.
Yeah, one of the things you said about sending pictures by email, that you really have to put it back, way back, as they would tell me, put it back, way back. Put it back before Picasso even. You should, all your film, all your pictures that you're gonna have somebody you wanna send to should be on a cloud service of some type. If you got them on Google Photos, Microsoft, or any of them, they have a method to send the pictures to your people you want to send them to with an attachment, and you just get an address from them. You select the pictures for your viewer, and you get a address from their download section, and you send that on attached email. And most of them will even have an email program that will start it for you, and all you have to do is put the guy's address in there. And that is the real way. You know, we got to get out of the idea, because most of the programs will have a limit on how big you could, how many attachments you could send, and this 25 meg is usually about the maximum. Yeah.
Yeah, and these days you can,
OneDrive, any of them, you can, all of those other services will have unlimited. And you can send them one picture or 10,000 pictures.
and you can take advantage of social media, so if you want to share your photos, you can share it with Facebook or Instagram or any of these other social media sites.
Okay, Shelley, we have another question.
Shelley, you mentioned these night modes. I don't see that in my picture takings and video slow-mo. Do you go into settings? Because when I go into settings and go into camera.
Yeah, it depends on which camera or which smartphone you're using and which app you're using. Some of them have a night mode on there, some don't.
So I go into settings and I see all of these.
On my phone, which is an Android, it's under a heading called Pro. You go to the Pro mode. And then, it could be labeled manual. You know, most of the new cameras have that. It's just a matter of figuring out where it is. Like I said, I know on the Android it's under the heading of Pro mode, and that's where you get a variety of things.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, you don't have to use the app that's the default camera app on your smartphone. You can use one of these other ones that we talked about as well, and that gives you more features.
Another avenue that I don't think was mentioned, Google Drive. Doesn't cost you anything. We have a college photo contest annually with 21 categories, and all of the photographers put all their photos out on Google Drive. That is shared amongst all the photographers, so everybody can go out there and see the photos, and they're full resolution.
Any more questions? And if not, we're going to turn this now into a computer cafe and help session.